Open grassland hunts don't necessarily equate to an extreme hunt. You're not hiking up high mountains, you're not barreling through a rock pile, but you do have to cover a lot of miles. And when you do find a big buck and there's no cover around, you gotta get down on your hands and knees and get to him. It can be tough. Another factor that some people just kind of overlook on a hunt is the wind. When you're in the prairie, the winds can howl, and don't I know it as a child of the prairie. That is a big, big factor. Not only in the fact that it can make the deer lay down a little bit, but when you do find a buck and you've got to pull off maybe a longer than questionable shots, that wind can make a big difference on bullet trajectory. You combine all that together, it can be one of the toughest hunts you'll ever come up against. After hunting this place at least 2 different times this fall, I had seen one pattern. A lot of the deer were gathering on a high upland field to feed. Whether they were coming from little draws around there or the main big creek bottom below, it didn't matter. These deer were definitely all grouping up there. So what does that mean? Well, that means sooner or later, the bucks in the area are going to end up there. They may not stay there day after day, but when they're ready for love, ready to do their eHarmony thing, then they're gonna show up right there to find the perfect match. Knowing this, I checked out all the heavy cover around this field. Every draw, every little point, anything I could find where a big buck might hold up. I wasn't having much luck. The deer were there. In fact, there were a lot of deer there. And I was getting pretty good response from rattling. On one particular setup, I had snuck up onto a nice bench overlook. There's a lot of thick cover below me. And instead of just waiting there to see who was at home, I rang the doorbell, which was my rattling antlers. Here, combusting out of the cover was a beautiful, nice 4x4 whitetail. Was he a shooter? He might have been in some parts of the country, but here I decided to pass on him, because I still knew there was a monster around and no one had claimed it. Was it my turn? Not there. He wasn't at home. But I moved on to the next piece of cover and did a little more stalking. One big benefit about freelancing a hunt, going it on your own, is the fact that you can just use any strategy you want. I like to roam. I don't know why, but like the gnome who likes to roam, I want to try to find as many great spots as I can. Moving from river bend to river bend, up to the higher draws, checking out some feeding fields, and any little place in between. A lot of times I'm just speed hunting, trying to find a pattern in just a day or two and keying in on it, and then pulling out all the guns, whether it's rattling, spot and stalking, or patiently waiting for that big buck to step out of a brush patch and putting him down. If you've ever seen me on TV or read any of my magazine articles, I'm a real big fan of bipods. So I generally have those on my firearm, muzzleloader, center fire, even shotguns at times, to get the rest I need no matter where I'm at. Now some folks, they just don't like that heavy thing on the end of their firearm. And I don't blame them. In fact, a lot of times I don't even use them all the time, but they're there when I need them. If you're looking for a rest when you're out hunting, hey, look towards Mother Nature. She has a lot to offer. So what can you use out there when you're in the woods, the prairies? Basically anything that's got just a little bit of a rise. Now sometimes, especially when you're talking about rocks, you might not get as soft a rest as possible. Then all you have to do is use your jacket, a vest, an extra shirt, or even your backpack to set down there and softly cradle and give that rifle a firmer grasp. Now that same terrain that you're using as a rest, well, if you look out far enough ahead of you, that may be the key to getting closer for a better shot, a closer shot at game. And that's where I like to be. I like to get as close as possible, and I think that's the bow hunter in me coming out. Well, then look towards those features to get down low and crawl and use them to block your form. Now you may have to get on your hands and knees, you may have to get right down on your belly, but trust me, it's better to get closer, give yourself more confidence, and get in there for the best shot possible. And you'll get a lot of rest later because you won't be worrying about wounded game running off.